I swiped another brick into my hand that was hidden by the cart. I dropped the other onto the body. I tried to act like it was natural. Damn. Yes, mein Herr. The nightman held up his torch and stopped by the road. Not too close, but not too far either. Careful now, mein Herr. That's Jorgen's house, yeah? That was my painting's name. I believe so, mein Herr. Shall I fetch him? I pushed some bricks onto my work of art, my beautiful sculpture of dead flesh. The guard came closer. I gripped my brick harder. You decide where this one goes, mein Herr. In the cart or your skull. Is he alright? Last I saw, I'm loading some bricks for our job tomorrow. The guard was nearly at my cart. My painting was nearly covered. Would I be painting another? Was this merely a brick in my hand or my paintbrush? Peter laid on his bed and watched the stone on the ceiling. Someone was going to die within the day. In his vision, the hammer broke before it hit what looked like Lorenz's sigil. That could mean the delivery his men were supposed to make. What if the vision was trying to warn him of a murder? He took a breath and turned to make eye contact with the flowers on his bedside table. He waited, but didn't see anything. Lorenz might die. Not that Peter cared too much, but Peter already let people die. If he could stop it, he had to try. Seemed the knightly thing to do. He thought of the warped helmet Rex was making him. He tried again a few minutes later. Maybe the visions came when they wanted, and he would just have to wait. Peter just needed a little more information, just a sign. Who would do it? How? Knife to the back? Poison? Sleep was looming behind him. He yawned and looked at the flowers. Sleep was looming behind him. He yawned and looked at the flowers again. The hammer fell on metal and sang a slow song. His chest seized, and he reached for the charcoal. He clutched it. The ice creaked up the iron of the hammer, turning it blue and glassy. Maybe the charcoal was holding him back. He dropped it to the floor. The full force of the vision struck like a winter storm. The hammer shattered, and Peter held his breath. The bits of the hammer glittered like tiny stars and fell into empty nothing behind flares of fire and more thunder. The thunder boomed and boomed, and the ice crept up the fire like vines. Two eyes opened. Eyes of a demon. The pupils were slits and the brows were ridges of stone. Peter was surrounded by teeth and swallowed in a burst of ice. Peter gasped for air and was on the floor. He staggered to his feet and saw a smear of red on the stone. He touched his forehead and winced. Blood colored his fingertips. He could never do that again. He bent over his knees and sucked in air. Things were spinning, and he felt sick to his stomach. Worst of all, he was no closer to understanding who the hammer was. Maybe it was no one. It was too much to try and understand. Peter knocked on Dr. Ordolph's door. Paxton Klein, the head of Robinchild House Guard, opened the door when the doctor called. Thankfully, Sir Daniel was out on a ride, so there was no one to yell at him for wanting to see Dr. Ordolph. But why was Pax here? Peter thumbed for his dirk he usually carried before remembering Rex had it. What was taking them so long fixing it? Peter pushed the door open. Thanks, Pax. Oh, guten Tag, Doctor. And, oh, Father. That's why Pax was there. They both smiled. Not that Peter didn't want to see his father, but he wasn't sure if he should say this in front of him. Here for your headache medicine, my lord? Ordolph said with a sly smile. Headaches? Peter's father asked. You're having headaches, son? No, Father, not anymore. At least not as bad, Doctor. Father. This is more of a follow-up. Is this all right, my Lord Steward? May I take a patient? Yeah, of course. This Salzburg business is nearly complete. Go on. Peter said, Doctor, my head hurts around Lorenz. The other day in court. Lorenz? The blacksmith guild chancellor? Yeah. His sigil, I think it might hurt someone. Peter's father rose an eyebrow. Peter, how do you mean? Peter looked at the doctor and hoped she understood, given their previous conversation. She made no expression that she did. My lord, squires get headaches from the various chores they do. Lord Stewart, I'm sure you remember when you were squired. Horse manure, the clang of metal, armory fumes. Peter's heart stopped. Was that a coincidence, or did she know Peter saw the tail end of her conversation with Rex? Peter didn't do anything wrong, but still, just... Hugh blushed as Hildy brushed by him. Peter, Hugh, and the other squires were serving drinks while the lords and knights supped. Someone said something to Peter, but he didn't hear. The delivery was that day. Who died? Who was the hammer? He stretched his ears, hoping he would hear something, but so far, nothing. There were murmurs at some of the other tables. Peter turned and watched a few knights leave the hall. Everyone soon casted their gazes and watched them. Peter was drawn to Dr. Ordolph. The doctor sat next to the Count and said something in a low whisper. Something about her was different. Her eyes weren't twinkling like they usually did. Captain Schwartzen and his men, including Brida's cousin Gabriel, stopped at a group of men-at-arms at the next table. The hall was quiet, but it was still hard to hear what Schwartzen was saying. One of the men-at-arms glanced to his friends with a worried look. He got up and left with the captain. Ed whispered, "They're all Sir Francis' men. At least, they all bunked together in the barracks." Hugh asked, "Where's Sir Francis?" Peter had a feeling he knew. But he carried a sword like everyone else. His heraldry didn't include a hammer. The men at the table stood up and left their dinners at the table as if their area was sick. Sir Francis, was he the hammer? Peter turned and watched the serving girls. They averted their eyes at their table. Peter turned and watched the serving girls. They averted their eyes at that table and pretended to be busy elsewhere. Peter waved, and Hildy came over. She stopped near Hugh, her eyes darting to that table as if watching a dangerous beast. "Hildy, do you know what's going on with Captain Schwartzen?" Hildy gulped and picked at her fingernails. "My lord, I've only heard rumors, and I wouldn't want to speak ill of the... He's dead," Bernie said like a blunt sword. Ed slapped him across the shoulder. "Yes, my lords. If I heard correctly, it was the cough." She made the sign of the cross and took another step back. "They say..." "I'm sorry, my lords, you're eating. I wouldn't burden you with this." Hugh grabbed her wrist. Both of them blushed, and Hugh retracted his hand. "Apologies, my lady, but please, it isn't a burden." "As you wish, my lord. It seems they drown in their... blood. The skin feels like it was left out in the snow. I haven't seen it, but it sounds like a horrible sight." Peter shot a glance to Ordolph. The doctor's face hung as if trying to figure out how to appear. Hammers. Did any of them carry hammers? Have any on their banners? Did any of their names have hammer? Not that Peter could think of. He went to thumb the pommel of his dirk, but only felt his belt. Wasn't Rex supposed to? Unless... Ed, did you ever get that lance delivery from Rex today? The one that Lorenz's men were supposed to bring up? Ed took a bite of his chicken and paused. "No, haven't seen him."